Hello YouTubers, Victorinox fan here with the third review in the USN Spyderco Canada pass around. Of all the 3 knives I got, this is probably my favorite of all of them. Now, I may not obviously go and rush and buy this because I am trying to trim my collection down, but of the 3, I thought it was very functional in design, a really cool looking knife, and it just felt so good in the hand. It was designed to fit in the hand. This is the Sprint Run Spyderco Persian, designed by Ed Schempp. Let's do some technical specs for you. It is 8.2 to 5 inches overall, which is 210 millimeters. Closed, it is 4.75 inches or 121 millimeters. The blade, overall blade length is 3.43 inches, 87 millimeters. The cutting edge is about 3 inches, 76 millimeters, and the weight is 5.4 ounces, so 154 grams. Not a light knife. Some other notable features about this knife are the polished Red G10 handle scales, very smooth texture. They say polished stainless steel bolster, I think it's more satin finish bolster. A one-way positional pocket clip for right hand tip-up carry. VG10 blade with a hollow grinding and a backlock. Oh yeah, 3mm stock. So let's give you a bit of history on this knife. Spyderco brought on custom maker Ed Schempp to develop an ethnic line. So these involve knives that take, older designs, older traditional designs, and give them, a Spyderco modern twist. This was the first one, if I'm not mistaken, the Persian. It was released quite a number of years ago, discontinued, and then they released a Sprint Run of this, and then now, also not too long ago, a black G10 handle version with a full flat grind blade. Now, how do they describe it? So, comprised of graceful sweeping lines, this Persian folder has Red G10 handle scales capped off with polished stainless steel bolsters. Finger indents on the handle underside situates the hand in the middle in a way that translates into comfort and dog's barking at a squirrel, growling at a squirrel. Sorry about that. In a way that translates into comfort and cutting control. The Eastern influence blade has a full curved belly, ending in a graceful upswept tip. Blah 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 blah. All that fun stuff. So it's essentially as the name suggests, a Persian-inspired blade design. So, what are some things? Kind of like, you see in the Cold Steel Espada, a very, let's start with my favorite part, the handle. You have a very aggressive ergonomic handle. So, swooping lines down, ending with a forward finger choil, as well as a rear guard. So, when you hold the knife, it sits in there. Now, I'm going to say that this is without a doubt one of the most comfortable knives I have ever held, and it is the most comfortable Spyderco that I've ever held. As soon as I hold it, it just locks into place. There's no jimping, there's no high traction stuff, but the ergonomics of this knife just are fantastic. Your hand just doesn't want to go anywhere. Like a lot of Ed Schempp's designs, they have a very aggressive choil. This choil is actually the largest I've ever seen. Just to give you the next knife with a large choil I have is the S&G. It's about comparable, if not just a tad larger. In fact, the size of both of these knives is pretty much comparable. S&G, the dimensions are actually very similar. This is just heavier. So ergonomics are fantastic, really. I could even hold it in a hammer fist grip, saber grip, reverse out. Can you do? Yeah, you can maybe. This is a little uncomfortable, but reverse out and both, forward, saber, hammer, and all those common grips are perfectly usable. There is no traction, so it's nice and smooth, but that means it's not any hot spots. The sides have been rounded off to make sure that you don't, get any major hot spots. It is a relatively slim design, so let me put that up against, let's say, the Actually, wait, is it? Yeah, it's a little bit thinner than the S&G, and probably, I think, thinner than the Paramilitary 2. The other. Yep, it's thinner than both. Not by a huge amount, but it is thinner than both. So, you do have a pretty lean knife that sits well in the pocket. The pocket clip works great. The locking mechanism is a lockback. Pretty traditional Spyderco Japanese-made lockback. I do like this better than the lockback on the Caracara 2. Even after you oil it, and even if you don't oil it, it's just smoother, the action's more fluid. I think it's just a better built lockback. Now, here's where it's a problem. It is a pinned knife. There are no screws, so there's no up and down play, but there is the tiniest bit of side to side play. And there's nothing you can do to really get rid of it, because it is pinned. So, keep that in mind in the sprint run. If blade play does develop, which in lockbacks they all do eventually, you can't do anything about it. Now let's go to the blade. I mentioned there's an aggressive choil so you could choke up, but the blade is a very, very aggressive upswept Persian blade. So 3mm thick stock with a hollow grind of VG10 steel. One of my personal favorite steels. The benefit of that is it leaves a relatively thick tip. I mean, the tip isn't wimpy, it's actually got some meat behind it, which is good, considering it's a very piercing oriented blade. A lot of belly for your slashy slash cut. Now, I've not used this knife a ton in utility because it is a bit aggressive, and it is, I think, a more fighting oriented knife, to be honest, or collectible knife, but it definitely has its charm with that sweep. And yes, it's sharp. And as usual, as soon as I try to cut stuff on camera outside, I fail. This has been to quite a few people. Keep it in mind. I'm like the 8th person in line to get this knife. So it's pretty decently sharp still after all those people. So, like you'd expect, VG10 is always a good performer. Easy to operate. Rocky, stop whining. So, yep, lantern hole. I think, overall, I think it's just a very well-designed knife. Unlike the balance, I think this probably has a greater variety of applications. If you can carry an S&G, you will be able to carry this. It is heavier, due to the lot of stainless steel construction. And they did mill out the liners, though. Probably tell. But it still weighs a good 5.4 ounces, so keep that in mind. So overall, I think this is a very well-designed Spyderco. Not for everybody, but for those who like 3.5-inch tactical folders and like something a little more elegant, I think this is definitely a nice option. I won't be keeping it, obviously, because it's a pass-down, but you know what? If I had the option to, I would be tempted. I would be tempted. Would I follow through? I'm not sure, but it is tempting. A very, very cool knife. Peace out, guys. Have a good one, and this pass-down has just been great. Thanks to Spyderco and the USN again. Bye, guys. Peace.